Good evening, everyone. Some people may think that this country is in a crisis. Whether you think the president is the reason for the crisis, or whether you think the media is the reason for the crisis, tonight I'm not necessarily going to take sides, but I'm going to tell you a flaw that is happening in our country, and that is in our cable news media. I'm going to start out by prefacing this. I am a journalism student at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication here at Arizona State University. It is a prestigious school that teaches values of journalism excellence and fairness and truth. That is what we are taught to do. What the current cable news landscape has turned into is nearly nothing of that nature. The purpose of my speech tonight is to convince you that cable news are no longer networks that focus on the news of the day, but rather have turned into a somewhat unnecessary gossip spot focusing on the perception that Donald Trump can't be the President of the United States. Historically, the three major cable news networks have been CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News Channel. It has been a perception for many years that Fox News Channel has a more Republican-leaning agenda in their programs, having commentators that tend to lean right. On the other hand, MSNBC has historically had commentators that are more left-leaning. But CNN has been the center of it all, or so they're considered. But it has been a crazy whirlwind since 2016, when Donald Trump became the Republican nominee for President of the United States. Those networks, instead of covering him and his campaign, did so in a way that they basically made it that Donald Trump was doing something fishy. When Donald Trump was elected president, they continued to act that way. And they have continued to do so unto today. They don't focus enough, people. They don't focus enough on some of his agendas. They don't necessarily dig deep into tax plans or to what he is doing is progressing or declining the country per se. What they focus on is two things. First thing they focus on is what people say about him. Case in point, Stormy Daniels. This alleged porn star that has continued, that reportedly had sex with Donald Trump once back in 2005, reportedly. She tells her story, but the main reason she told her story, well, the main thing behind the story per se, is that Stormy Daniels got paid by Michael Cohen, Trump's personal lawyer, before the election to be hush-hush about it. Now, some people may argue that it is an illegal campaign contribution, and that is what CNN and MSNBC have been running on for the past few years. Well, for the past few months, rather. But there's nothing necessarily wrong with the fact that it did not go straight to the Trump campaign. In fact, from what I've heard, it was his personal money that went toward this person. Another person, more recent example, James Comey. James Comey was the FBI director when Donald Trump began. Of course, there have been several investigations into the election because apparently there was some tampering. What tampering? Nobody knows. But here's what they think they know. is that Donald Trump did something fishy. What did he do? Donald Trump won't say. In fact, all Donald Trump will do is deny the entire incident. Donald Trump says that they are making up sources. My challenge to cable news networks is, who are these sources? Why can't they name them? We are taught in journalism school to be transparent and to name sources when they can. And we're told in a hallmark class in the beginning of our freshman year entitled The Principles in History of Journalism that we should not do many interviews on background or off the record. An off the record interview means you cannot mention any part of what was said because it could be very harmful to either the person who the interview is about or the person that you did the interview off the record with. But CNN and MSNBC have continued to run on this agenda. Now, I'm not making this a pro-Fox News piece either, because, quite frankly, they're almost as bad. Their continued agenda is not to necessarily say support the Trump and his policies or anything that he does, but rather continue to harp on Hillary Clinton, the former First Lady, Secretary of State of the United States, who Trump ran against and beat in the general election in 2016. Most of their commentary newscasts continue to be about what she said. Look, words are powerful, but actions speak louder than words. So why do the three major cable news networks, which should be covering actions, cover words? And to understand this as well, what these cable news networks do is not have the traditional man with a camera, live and so. I'm Matt Kling for Fox News. I'm Matt Kling for MSNBC. I'm Matt Kling for CNN. No. They have you sit down, and they say, and they basically turn it into debate television. Not news, debate television. All three networks do that. But to further the case, the evening hosts on Fox News and MSNBC are not anchors, but rather commentators. Rachel Maddow, Sean Hannity, Lawrence O'Donnell, Chris Hayes, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, formerly Bill O'Reilly. All these guys are not news people, they're rather commentators. It is very hard in a country where Donald Trump, our president, is calling almost everything that he sees on television fake news. Now, I'm not arguing necessarily against the networks themselves and the hardworking journalists and reporters that these networks employ, but I'm rather arguing and convincing you that these networks have shifted their agendas rather from focusing on news, actual news, to focusing on gossip. Thank you very much.